My name is Daniel Reyes. 2 years ago, my wife Lena and I moved into Willow Creek Estates with our 8-year-old daughter, Sophie. It was supposed to be our fresh start, a quiet, planned community with tree-lined streets, a community pool, and the kind of neighborly peace you see in brochures. What we got instead was a nightmare dressed in khaki uniforms and fake authority. The trouble started small. A warning letter about our trash cans being visible from the street for 12 minutes past pickup time. Then another about the color of our welcome mat. Lena laughed it off at first. She's the calm one, a middle school art teacher who can talk down even the angriest parent. I work from home as a software consultant, so I was there the day everything went wrong. It was a warm Saturday in late spring. Lena was in the front yard planting lavender along the walkway. Sophie was drawing chalk flowers on the driveway. I was on the porch reviewing code when the black SUV rolled up. No markings except a cheap magnetic sign on the door that read, Willow Creek Enforcement Services. Two men stepped out wearing matching khaki shirts, tactical vests, and mirrored sunglasses. They looked like they'd watched too many police procedurals. The taller one, a stocky man with a buzz cut and a name tag that said, Officer Harlan, spoke first. Daniel and Lena Reyes? He asked, not bothering with pleasantries. Yes, I said, stepping down from the porch. What's this about? HOA violation. Unapproved landscaping. You were warned. We're here to issue a citation and correct the issue. Lena stood up, brushing dirt from her gloves. We submitted the plans 3 weeks ago. No one responded. Harlan's partner, shorter, heavier, sweating under his vest, smirked. Doesn't matter. Rules are rules. Step aside. What happened next still plays in my head like a slow-motion film reel. They didn't wait for discussion. The shorter man, Officer Tate, grabbed a metal clipboard like it was a weapon and started yanking out the newly planted lavender. Lena reached out instinctively to stop him. Don't touch those, she said firmly. Harlan moved fast. Too fast. He seized her wrist, twisted it hard behind her back in some amateur version of a police hold. I heard the snap before Lena even cried out, a sick, sharp crack that cut through the quiet suburban afternoon. She dropped to her knees, clutching her arm, face pale with shock. Get your hands off her, I shouted, rushing forward. Tate shoved me back with surprising strength. Stay down, civilian. We're authorized. Authorized. That word rang false even then. Real HOA board members send notices. They don't show up like SWAT team rejects to rip out flowers and break bones. Lena was gasping in pain. Sophie had frozen in the driveway, chalk in hand, eyes wide. That image, my daughter watching her mother hurt, is what flipped the switch inside me. I'm not a hero. I've never been in the military. But I spent 8 years as a volunteer wilderness search and rescue coordinator before we moved here. I know how to handle pressure. More importantly, I know how to observe. And in those first few seconds after Lena hit the ground, I noticed everything. The fake cops' vests were Velcro, not properly fitted. Their badges were plastic, the kind you can buy online for $20. Their SUV had no government plates, just a temporary dealer tag partially covered by mud. And most telling, Harlan's hand trembled slightly on his radio, which wasn't even turned on. These men were not police. They were frauds. 5 minutes. That's all it took. I raised both hands slowly, palms open, the universal sign of compliance. Okay. You're right. Let me just get the violation paperwork from inside. Harlan nodded, pleased with his easy victory. Tate kept his boot near Lena, as if she might try to stand. I walked toward the house, but instead of going through the front door, I veered left toward the open garage, the one with my workbench and the tools I'd been organizing that morning. They didn't follow immediately. Big mistake. Inside the garage, I grabbed the heavy-duty zip ties I use for bundling cables and the large tarp we keep for painting projects. Then I picked up the bright orange safety vest and hard hat from my search and rescue days. I slipped them on quickly. From the garage doorway, I called out in my calmest, most authoritative voice, the one I used when directing volunteers during flood rescues. Harlan. Tate. Stand down. This is Daniel Reyes, Certified Emergency Coordinator for the county. I have a live body cam recording everything and a direct line to the sheriff's dispatch. You are interfering with a documented medical emergency. Release the woman and get on the ground. They turned toward me, confused. The orange vest and hard hat did their job. They looked official enough to create doubt. I kept moving, voice steady but loud. County protocol requires immediate compliance. Hands behind your heads. Now. For a split second, their confidence cracked. Harlan glanced at Tate. That hesitation was all I needed. I stepped forward confidently, zip ties in hand like they were official restraints. Face down. Interlace your fingers. You know the position. Tate actually started lowering himself. Harlan hesitated longer, but when I pointed at my non-existent body cam on the vest and said, "Dispatch has your plates and descriptions," he folded too. They went down, first Tate, then Harlan, faces pressed into the dirt of our front yard, right next to the half-pulled lavender plants. I secured their wrists with the zip ties, tight but not cruel. Lena, still cradling her arm, managed to pull Sophie behind her. I kept talking the entire time, maintaining the illusion of backup. Dispatch, we have 2 subjects in custody. Request immediate medical and law enforcement response to 1427 Willow Creek Lane. The whole takedown from the moment Harlan grabbed Lena to both men lying prone in the dirt took less than 5 minutes. Neighbors started emerging from their houses. Mrs. Alvarez from across the street, a retired nurse, ran over with ice packs and a blanket for Lena. Mr. Patterson, the accountant who never waved back, was on his phone calling 911 for real. Within 10 minutes, 2 actual county sheriff's deputies arrived, followed by an ambulance. The investigation that followed peeled back layers none of us expected. Harlan and Tate weren't just rogue HOA enforcers. They were part of a small but organized scam ring. A man named Victor Lang, the recently elected HOA president, had hired them through a shady LLC. Their job was to intimidate homeowners into paying emergency compliance fees in cash. Fake citations, fake fines, sometimes small acts of vandalism to create urgency. They targeted newer residents who didn't know the system well. My family wasn't their first victim, but we became the last. Lena's arm was fractured in 2 places. She needed surgery and months of physical therapy. The psychological scars ran deeper. For weeks afterward, Sophie would wake up crying from nightmares about the men in khaki. Our once peaceful street became a crime scene with yellow tape and news vans. But something remarkable happened in the aftermath. The real Willow Creek HOA board called an emergency meeting. Residents showed up in record numbers. I stood up and spoke, not with anger, but with the same calm authority that had worked in the front yard. I presented the evidence we'd gathered: the fake badges, the copied violation templates, the bank records showing Lang's sudden cash deposits. By the end of that meeting, Lang was removed. New rules were passed requiring all enforcement to go through verified channels with proper oversight. Several other families came forward with their own stories of intimidation. The district attorney pursued fraud and assault charges against Harlan, Tate, and Lang. 6 months later, I watched from the courtroom gallery as all 3 men received prison sentences. No dramatic showdowns, just quiet justice moving through the system. Today, our lavender is thriving again. Lena designed a new garden layout, bolder this time, with sunflowers and native grasses that don't need anyone's approval. Sophie draws on the driveway almost every weekend, but now she draws superheroes instead of flowers. And I keep that orange safety vest hanging by the garage door as a reminder. Sometimes authority is real. Sometimes it's just a costume and a loud voice. The difference usually comes down to who's willing to look closer and who's willing to stand up when it matters. We thought we were moving into a safe, orderly community. Instead, we learned that real safety isn't guaranteed by rules on paper or men in matching uniforms. It's built by ordinary people who refuse to look away when those rules are twisted. Our street is quieter now, not because of fear, but because of something stronger: awareness. Neighbors actually talk to each other. We check on one another. And the fake cops? They're just a story we tell now. One that ends with 2 men face down in the dirt and a family that refused to stay broken.